Welcome to Self-Direction from Childhood to Adulthood. My name is Pam Smith, and I'm the Director of the Division of Long-Term Services and Supports for the Kentucky Department for Medicaid Services. I have about 25 years experience with Kentucky Medicaid, primarily in the management of the 1915C HCBS waivers. Early in my Medicaid career, I began with the state's Quality Improvement Organization and the Medicaid Management Information System vendors. I've been with the Department for Medicaid Services for about the last 6 years and have been in the director role since 2018. Our division, Long-Term Services and Supports, manages nursing facilities, hospice, private duty nursing, home health, programs of all-inclusive care for the elderly, otherwise known as PACE, and 6 different 1915C home and community-based waivers. So, in our presentation today, we're going to give you an overview of the self-direction in Kentucky. We are going to meet Will and Clayton, and we're going to talk about self-direction from childhood to adulthood in 5 key points. Plan early for the future, expand social and community supports, work on life skills and independence, think outside the box, and have dreams and goals. In Kentucky, we have 6 different 1915C HCBS waivers targeting several populations, which include the aged and physically disabled, individuals with intellectual disabilities and or developmental disabilities. 5 of those waivers allow participants to choose self-direction as one of their service delivery models, which we call participant-directed services, or PDS. Kentucky's PDS policies do allow immediate family members to be PDS employees. Immediate family members can work as PDS employees for a minor child, however, certain criteria must be met. This approval process helps us to ensure the child's wishes are considered, needs are met, and that health, safety, and welfare is protected. Right now, Kentucky serves more than 6,000 minor children in the home and community-based services programs, and about 95% of those access at least one service through participant-directed options. We want to introduce you to Will and Clayton. These 2 young men have received services since they were children through Kentucky's HCBS waivers. Today, they are both receiving services through the Michelle P. waiver, which serves individuals with intellectual and or developmental disabilities. Will is currently 19 years old and has been accessing services for approximately 15 years, while Clayton, who is 26, has received those services for approximately 14 years. They are going to help us demonstrate what a successful transition from childhood to adulthood looks like using self-direction. Both Will and Clayton have used participant-directed services to become active members of their community as they have transitioned from childhood and continue to work on independent living skills. Will regularly volunteers at his church as a youth leader, a hospitality greeter, and helps prepare church meals. Clayton has been employed at a popular local cafe for the last 9 years. He also actively participates in the Academy of Country Music Lifting Lives Music Camp. He enjoys traveling from his home in Kentucky to Nashville each spring to participate and has even performed on the stage at the Grand Ole Opry as part of the group.
It's a great camp. We get to go to the Grand Ole Opry. At the Grand Ole Opry, we get to perform a song, and then we get to sing it like for our parents, and then after the performance we do like an after party, yeah.
Clayton met his girlfriend of 7 years, Isabel, at one of these camps and now travels independently to visit her. They even have a TikTok with over 1 million views. Both men are strong self-advocates. Will, Clayton, and their families have identified 5 keys to successfully using self-direction from childhood to adulthood. Those include planning for the future early, expanding a child's social and community support, working on life skills and independence from a young age, thinking outside of the box when it comes to services, and having dreams and goals for the future. Plan for the future early. Will's mom, Katie, tells us she learned about supported decision-making early on and incorporated it into Will's life at a young age. Supported decision-making allows people with disabilities to make their own decisions with the support of a team of people, such as trusted family, friends, or other natural supports. By age 7, after talking it through with his support network, Will asked doctors to make changes in his medications. He did the same thing in his young teens when he felt he didn't need the speech therapy as often as it has been prescribed. Will also runs his own person-centered team meetings, sets his own goals, and tailors his PDS community living supports to his specific needs.
Will knows a lot about this because I want him to know, in case I'm not here, but the goals and the things that he wants in his waiver, they're supposed to be things he wants, not what I want. I want him to be safe. That's in there. But you know what I mean? Like those things are things that every parent wants. But like that independence piece, that person-centered, we've really tried to teach Will about that so that he continues to know that this waiver belongs to him.
When you have a child that self-directs, make sure to involve them in the process as much as possible. In addition to setting goals and leading person-centered planning, this may look like having them help develop job duties for the PDS employees, helping with the creation of job ads, sitting in on the interview process, and giving feedback on who they want to hire. Next, we'll look at expanding your child's social and community network. Clayton's mom, Stella, says her family has always used PDS. Like many parents in Kentucky, she first turned to friends and family as employees, but found that didn't really work for Clayton. Now, Clayton and Stella hire a variety of caregivers, whom Clayton calls his mentors, to help him acquire and maintain new skills, to help him pursue his interests, to keep him actively involved in his community, and to get him comfortable with people outside of his own family. Stella credits former PDS employee Zach with nurturing Clayton's music skills. The pair even worked together to write a song in memory of Clayton's late father.
You know, I hired my family, I hired my friends, and then I fired them all because I found that it was just like we were doing the same thing. It wasn't, you know, he wasn't getting really any rich stuff out of it. It was just familiar. It was familiar. And people on the outside see things too that we don't see because we're with, you know, I'm with Clayton all the time. But when we brought Zach in, for example, Zach saw things in Clayton that I had not seen. He saw his ability to, you know, sing even more than what I thought he could sing. He, you know, got things out of him that I could never get out of him.
These days, Clayton works with the same age peer named Isaiah. Clayton spends a few nights away from home every few weeks with Isaiah's assistance. And working with Isaiah gives Clayton a chance to be part of a community of individuals his own age, doing typical activities for people in their 20s.
I'm just glad to have Isaiah as my mentor, and he is a great guy.
That's why we hired a few different people that kind of met different needs, if that makes sense. And so we always had a girl on, and you've been through quite a few different girls. And we always wanted that female figure there that usually helped with like the cooking and different things like that. But then we always wanted a peer that we felt like was real valuable that Clayton could relate to more.
Stella acknowledges hiring outside PDS employees can be scary. She recommends conducting thorough interviews, having signed agreements in place detailing job expectations, boundaries, what services are to be provided, and how your loved ones should be treated. She says they've had to let employees go in the past that weren't working out, but those situations have been the exception and not the rule.
Trial and error. We've had good ones, we've had bad ones. But that's the only way, you know, that you're going to increase that circle is if you get outside of it. And, you know, I would always tell families, you know, they would say, you know, we don't want anyone around. We're afraid, you know, what if somebody does something. And I said, well, you know what? We all have those fears in life, regardless of what we do. But sometimes we have to take a chance because, there may be that perfect one out there that's going to make the difference.
Will's mom, Katie, agrees, saying Will's involvement in church has introduced him to a community of people who love him. It gives her comfort knowing there are people who can support him when she's not around.
He knows a lot of people. Actually, it's really interesting now because he would go to breakfast with Papa and come back, and he knows all kinds of farmers here. And I don't even know these people. And we're at court days, and they're like, "Hey, how are you, Will?"
Next up, we'll look at working on life skills and independence. This isn't a specific PDS idea. It's important for anyone receiving HCBS services, but working on life skills and independence can have a trickle-down effect that makes an individual more confident as they age and prepare to take on the responsibilities of self-direction. As we discussed, Clayton spends periods of time away from home and even travels alone. Will has spent the past few years learning how to be home alone, how to take care of his family's farm, and how to manage money. Both young men are strong self-advocates. Clayton is a public speaker and a member of the Kentucky Commission on Services and Supports for Individuals with Intellectual or Other Developmental Disabilities, this group advises the governor and the State General Assembly on issues related to the IDDD population. Will has formed his own group of individuals, both with and without disabilities, in his community called the Mavericks, named after his horse.
For local people with and without disabilities.
It's called the Mavericks, and he has wanted to start his own group. And there's a group called Yes, and they really wanted Will to start a Yes chapter, but he really wants to do something in our local community because we don't seem to see many people with disabilities out in the community, but we see them at their homes when we're driving around. So he thought it might be a good idea to connect people.
He's also traveled to Washington, D.C. to advocate for individuals with disabilities to federal lawmakers. These skills give both young men the voice and the confidence needed to have successful relationship with self-direction. Here's another one that's great for all HCBS participants, regardless of the service delivery method. Think outside of the box. Use PDS to your advantage by tailoring services to your child's unique goals and interests. Stella and Clayton have used PDS services in the past to assist Clayton in getting to and participating in speaking engagements. She suggests looking at ways to use PDS to engage in activities beyond going out just for the sake of going out.
Embrace what's there and try to be super creative in ways that you can utilize the services that are there. Get to know what's available, research yourself, find out what all the waiver entails and what that means, and then try to come up with real creative ways to use the services. And that's what we've done. We have really tried to really think outside of the box. And like I said, hiring the different people to meet the different needs, I think is a really good thing to do. We always usually I like to have 3 different ones. It was a guy that was his age, a girl that was his age, and then I usually like to have an older person. So not, like maybe in their 40s or something, because you're kind of meeting, all the needs there. And it's not a one stop fits all. It's, you have to tailor it to meet their needs. And that's what we've done, and it's worked great for us. And so that's one of the things that I think is important, is think outside the box and, just really be creative and use the services to the best that you can, and do more than just go out to eat and go to Walmart. There's a lot of, we do a lot of really great things. Like Clayton does public speaking, and so we would use the services for that. Like if I couldn't be at an event, I would have someone take him, to the event. we've used it just all kinds of different ways.
Will has used PDS services to acquire the skills needed to stay home alone safely and combined that with technology successfully to meet that goal.
And for a few years now, we haven't used respite because didn't need it. We have friends, and we practice really hard working with Will so that he could stay at home by himself. If I was going to the salon to get my hair done, what boy wants to go hang out with his mom for 2 hours? So
Yeah.
we started using the iPad, and I would just check in with him, and that worked out great. And he felt confident, and he learned how to be safe at home. And so no cooking on the stove while we were gone, things like that. And Will learned it.
Finally, don't limit your child. Let them have dreams and goals for the future. Again, this gives you the direction when it comes to figuring out who will be the best caregiver for your child. It helps you define what they need to learn as they grow to successfully self-direct, and gives everyone something to look forward to and work towards.
Waiver services kind of give us back some hope, because here we're writing real goals to improve Will's life whenever people were telling me how bad it was going to be. Like he probably won't walk, and he probably won't write his name. And Will can do all that stuff, and he can read. Will can read. So, all these things they told me he wouldn't do. I learned more about what Clayton was getting services. We know Clayton really well. We've known him since a long time.
Okay.
And then Leslie. So we're all really good friends, but Danny and Clayton made me want more for Will. It made me think I could dream a little. I think that's something families who have a child with disability forget to do. We feel like we can't. And I felt like for a long time I couldn't, because I was busy we were survival mode every day. Who can dream about the future when you're busy trying to survive? Now me and Will are dreamers, aren't we, buddy? We're dreaming. Yep, we're going to get another horse.
You have to, take that chance, and, that fear is never going to allow them to be what they're designed to be. And I always say, it's, if we hover and we keep them that eternal child the rest of their life, that is not teaching them independence. And they're just going to be so dependent on us that, God forbid, if something tragic happened, they're not going to have any, self-help skills at all.
Both Will and Clayton have big plans for what's ahead.
This is the American dream for Will Bentley. What is it?
Own a farm, home, be a farmer, and have a family.
Aw.
I want to be a dad someday.
Where do you want to live? Who do you want to live by? This was his idea. It's very sweet.
I would like to be neighbors with my parents.
Aw.
Yep. So his kids can come visit.
I want to have my own house one day on the farm. And then I would like to marry my girlfriend one day.
We are so excited to see where the future leads both of these bright and talented young men. We want to thank you for letting us take you on this journey through the eyes of Will and Clayton. A big thank you to both men and their families for allowing us to share part of their stories. If you have questions for us, please feel free to reach out. I can be reached at pam.smith@ky.gov, or you can send us an email at medicaidpubliccomment@ky.gov. You can also find us online at the links listed on the slide. Thank you so much for your attention and for participating in this journey with us.